and welcome to the Lakeville diving portion of today's competition. Today we have Lakeville South versus Shakopee. The diving order will be as follows. Jack Woodward, Shakopee. Tanner Christman, Shakopee. Charlie Todd, Shakopee. Bob Smith, Lakeville South. Matthew Leisure, Shakopee. Porter Woodson, Lakeville South. Justin Luce, Shakopee. Keegan Gare, Lakeville South. Andrew Leisure, Shakopee. A little bit closer. Okay. You ready to start? Yep. Okay. Starting round one is Jack Woodward of Shakopee. Dive 101A, forward dive straight, 1.4. And the scores are 1.5, 2.5, 2. Next up, Tanner Christman, Shakopee. 101C, forward dive, tuck, 1.2. The scores are 2, 2, 2. Charlie Todd, forward dive 101A straight, 1.4. The scores are 2, 2.5, 2.5. Next up, Ewan, Lakeville South, 101B. Front dive, pike position, 1.3. And the scores are 6, 6, 5.5. Next up, Matthew Leisure, Shakopee, with dive 101C. Forward dive, tuck position, 1.2. The scores are 4.5, 4.5, 4. Next up, Porter Woodson, Lakeville South. Dive 103C, forward 1.5 somersault, tuck position, 1.6. The scores are 4.5, 4, 5. Next up, Justin Luce with dive 101B, forward dive, pike position, 1.3. Scores are 5, 4.5, 4.5. Next up, Keegan Gare, Lakeville South, 103B, forward 1.5 somersault, pike position, 1.7. And the scores are 7, 7, 7. Shakopee with dive 103B, forward 1.5 somersault, pike position 1.7. The scores are 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. Starting round 2, Jack Woodward, Shakopee, dive 5, 1-1A, forward dive, 1/2 twist straight, 1.8. The scores are 1.5 to 1.5. Tanner Christman from Shakopee with dive 5-1-1-1A, forward dive, 1.5 twist straight, 1.8. The scores are 1.5 to 1.5. Charlie Todd from Shakopee with 5-1-1-1A, forward dive, 1/2 twist straight, 1.8. The scores are 2-2-2. Ewan Easton, Lakeville South, dive 103C, forward 1.5 somersault, tuck position 1.6. The scores are 3.5, 4, 4. Matthew Leisure, Shakopee, 103C, forward 1.5 somersault, tuck position 1.6. The scores are 5, 4.5, 4.5. Next up, Porter Woodson, Lakeville South, dive 105C, forward 2.5 somersault, tuck position 2.4. Scores are 1-1-1. Next up, Justin Luce, Shakopee, 103B, forward 1.5 somersault, pike position 1.7. The scores are 5-5-5. Next up, Keegan Gare, Lakeville South, 105B, forward 2.5 somersault, pike position 2.6. Scores are 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. Andrew Leisure, Shakopee, with dive 104B, forward, 2, somersault, pike position, 2.3. The scores are 4, 4.5, 4. Starting round 3 will be Charlie Todd from Shakopee with dive 401C, inward dive, tuck position, 1.4. The scores are 3.5, 4, 4. Next up, Ewan Easton, Lakeville South with dive 301C, reverse dive, tuck position, 1.6. The scores are 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. Next up, Matthew Leisure, Shakopee, with dive 5121D, forward, 1 somersault, half twist, free, 1.7. The scores are 4, 4, 4. Next up, Porter Woodson, Lakeville South, 203C, back, 1.5 somersault, tuck position, 2.0. The scores are 3, 3.5, 3.5. Justin Luce, Shakopee, dive 401B, inward dive, pike position, 1.5. The scores are 5.5, 5, 5. Keegan Gare, Lakeville South, dive 403B, inward, 1.5 somersault, pike position, 2.4. The scores are 6, 5.5, 6. Andrew Leisure, Shakopee, dive 403C, inward, 1.5 somersault, tuck position, 2.2. The scores are 6, 6, 6. Starting round 4, Charlie Todd, Shakopee, with dive 201A, back dive straight, 1.7. 3 and a half, 3 and a half, 3 and a half. Next up, UN Easton, Lakeville South, dive 401B, inward dive, pike position 1.5. The scores are 4, 4, 4. Matthew Leisure, Shakopee, 201A, back dive straight, 1.7. The scores are 4, 3 and a half, 3 and a half. Porter Woodson, Lakeville South, 303C, reverse, 1.5 somersault, tuck position, 2.1. Next up, Justin Luce, Shakopee, with dive 401B, with dive 403C, inward 1.5 somersault, tuck position 2.2. The scores are 3 and a half, 4, 4 and a half. Keegan Garrett, Lakeville South, with dive 203B, back 1.5 somersault, pike position 2.3. Scores are 6 and a half, 6 and a half, 6 and a half. Andrew Leisure, Shakopee, dive 203C, back 1.5 somersault, tuck position 2.0. Scores are 3 and a half, 3 and a half, 3. Starting round 5, UN Easton, Lakeville South, dive 5211A, back dive 1/2 twist, straight 1.8. The scores are 4 and a half, 4 and a half, 4. Next up, Matthew Leisure from Shakopee. Dive 202C, back 1 somersault, tuck position 1.5. The scores are 3, 4, 4. Porter Woodson, Lakeville South, with dive 403C, inward 1.5 somersault, tuck position 2.2. 3.5, 3.5, 3.5. Justin Luce, Shakopee. Dive 201C, back dive, tuck position, 1.5. The scores are 4.5, 5, 5. Next up, Keegan Gare with dive 303C, reverse, 1.5 somersault, tuck position, 2.1. The scores are 4, 4.5, 4.5. Andrew Leisure, Shakopee, dive 204C, back, 2 somersault, tuck position, 2.0. The scores are 4.5, 5, 4.5. For our 6th and final round, starting off Ewan Easton with dive 202B, back, 1 somersault, pike position, 1.6. The scores are 4.5, 4, 4.5. Matthew Leisure, Shakopee, dive 401C, inward dive, tuck position, 1.4. The scores are 4, 4, 4. Porter Woodson, Lakeville South, dive 401C, inward dive, tuck position, 1.4. The scores are 5, 5, 4.5. Justin Luce, Shakopee with dive 5223D, back, 1 somersault, 1.5 twist, free, 2.3. The scores are 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. Keegan Gare, Lakeville South, dive 5132D, forward 1.5 somersault, 1 twist free, 2.2. The scores are 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. Our final diver of the evening, Andrew Leisure, Shakopee with 5231D, back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist free, 2.1. The scores are 4, 4, 4. We'll have the results in just a minute. tonight we have the final scores. For exhibition, Tanner Chrisman with a total score of 16.2. Jack Woodward with a score of 17.4. And Charlie Todd with a score of 54.55. For varsity, in 6th place, Porter Woodson with a total score of 90.00. Matthew Leisure, 5th place, 110.4. 4th place, Ewan Easton, 120.15. 3rd place, Justin Luce, 146.15. 2nd place, Andrew Leisure of Shakopee with 64.5. And in 1st place, Keegan Gare of Lakeville South with 235.65. Thank you and have a good evening.